Hi there. It's been a while. I thought I would do a new video on Linux Mint. This is the current version, which I guess I'm going to have to look in here and see if I can find it. This is info, system reports. Well, we can do it this way. System info, kernel. Da, da, da. Okay, so this is Linux Mint 20.1. U Ulyssa? I can't pronounce it. Ulyssa, I believe, is how you pronounce it. This is off the Ubuntu 20.04 Focal or Focal, however you pronounce it. Um, Basically, I wanted to show you what I've done or what I do now somewhat in my customizing of Xfce See. This is Mint Xfce See, which I should be clear on. It's not cinnamon and it's not mate. It's Xfce See. So when you install it, you won't have this wallpaper. The panel does not look like this, and you don't have a panel to the left or the right. You don't have a clock at the top, but this is all easy for you to configure, and it doesn't take much to do that. When you have it installed, you would right click on the main panel, which I believe is on the bottom. So you'd right click here, left click properties. Actually, I'm sorry, no, right click, left click panel preferences. You'll notice this is panel 1, and that's your main panel. And of course, it's horizontal and it's locked. And what I've done is basically the length of it has been shortened to 70, which gives you this space between the corner of your display, as you can see here. And then the row size 45 is the, I guess you'd say, the thickness of the panel. So you can adjust it any way you want. This is how I have it. It's just to give you some ideas on how to configure it to your liking. And then on the appearance tab, I leave this the default, which is none. Use system style, and I'm not altering the opacity of it at all. I'm just leaving everything the same here. And then if you go to the far right or third tab, you can see that the whisker menu is right here, and then all these launchers, which are all of these here, and then places, directory menu, Windows button. The Windows button, it tells you, is your indicator of what applications are actually running. So and then this has also been modified. You can, let me click on it, go to edit, where's the edit. Right now I've unchecked labels. I believe if I do labels, see what labels do, that gives you the readout in text. But I didn't want that because it takes more space. And for me, all I wanted was just the icons themselves, because you can hover over it and it'll tell you what they are. So I'm just trying to, I wanted a compact arrangement of my icons in this panel, so that's how I configure it. And the handle is this little, I don't know what you call it, but basically that's the handle. It's kind of like a divider, I guess is what you might call it. So I'm just kind of giving you detailed a way of knowing what to do or how to do it, basically. And then, of course, here the separator is basically the space between here. And then notification area is here. And actually, I'm sorry, notification would be in front. I have simple screen recorder going, and that's why you have this little icon at the moment. So that's your notification area. Show desktop, another launcher, which is screenshot. Let me scroll down here. notification plugin. Some things will pop up when certain other activities occur. And then I put the trash applet on the far end. And then I moved the speaker setting up at the top because I normally don't adjust volume this way. I adjust it with a remote control directly to my amplifier. So I don't have to get to this very often, and that's why I put it up here. And then let me close this out. And then I'll show you. So, and then I also, of course, it's on. If you go to panel preferences, you'll see that automatically hide the panel always. So when I close whatever's active, it hides it. So anytime you open up an app, basically it'll come up. I don't even think it needs to be full screen. Oh no, it does. Okay. So if I go full screen, it'll hide it. But I can still hover down there to access the panel, as you'll notice. But if I want to shrink it down, now it gives me, you still can access it, but it still has it on auto hide there. So I guess it just kind of goes up, it's up and down depending on what's going on the screen. The left panel is where I put all my less used apps. And what I did was how to configure some of this. Basically, if you right click on your main panel, you go to panel preferences. When you want to add another panel, you would do a drop down and go panel 2, panel 3, panel 4, and you'd hit the plus to add those panels. And when you add the panel, so let me see, can I add a fifth panel? I've never done this. Let's try adding a fifth. Will it even allow me to do a fifth panel? It does. Okay, so here's the example. So when you're adding this is a fifth panel, which this is only for example. So I think it creates it on the far left here normally. And then as you can click and drag this simply by bringing your cursor to the edge here. You'll see this little, I don't know what you call this little graduation, whatever this little dealie is here. You just put your cursor on there and you're able to drag this. So so let's say, well, I could put it here, I could put it anywhere. But basically that's how you would create a new panel. Then when you want to add to that panel, you can stay right where you are. You could actually add items in right here, I believe. Go here, but then if you do it this way, you'd have to click plus, and then these are various additions that you can add to that panel. So whatever's in here, so say I wanted mail watcher, click add. There it is. Now you have it in there. So basically this is basically how I configured these panels that I have here. And what else would I want to show you here? Well, you have places. One of the things that I was going to mention was action buttons are handy, and those are, like I have those on the far right. So I've got log off, I've got restart, shut down, and suspend all right here. And you can do that with just one of these action buttons. Maybe I can show you that as an example. So if I click add, it'll come up as text first. And here, let's close this out so I can show you what you can do here. So if you have it configured like this, your action buttons, if you click on it, it's going to show you, well, actually it may not show you like this. I think it might be that I adjusted a setting, but if not, I'm not sure I can explain it fully, but you have options of how you want to configure this. If you right click on it and you go to properties, left click, you'll see that it's in a session menu appearance. If I change this appearance to buttons, look what it did. It puts them all into buttons. So, and then if you don't want to have confirmation every time you click, when you click, it's going to ask you, do you want to do that? Do you want to, it'll ask for a confirmation. You can uncheck that as well. And then you can it'll be a one-click access to whatever function you're clicking on. So, and then when you're in here, You can also just say you don't want all the different buttons. Maybe you don't want the lockout screen. Just uncheck it. I don't want a switch user. Uncheck it. I don't need a separator. Uncheck it. Maybe you just want suspend and shut down. Let's get rid of another separator. See what it's doing here? It's shrinking everything down. And then there's two logouts, and the one logout allows you to do it in one click. This logout, I'll show what this logout does. I think I can do it without stopping the video. Let me close this. As long as I hit the right button, logout will give you the option of all your different settings, but it won't do it in one swoop. But it gives you all the different options. The other logout will give you just a quick logout without asking any other questions. So I'm just giving you a little bit of some examples of how to use this panel, but I'm going to delete it now. So if you want to get rid of a panel, just hover towards the edge, right click, and then you can, well, let's see, where's the delete? Oh, panel preferences. It's the fifth panel. All I have to do is remove it by hitting the minus. And it's going to ask you, are you sure? Yep. And so it's gone. So that's basically how I've configured these panels, just by the example I showed you. So I put the apps I use less on the far left. The ones I use most at the bottom. This is the main panel, and then on the far right, I've added the the power buttons and so on, and then I added just a few utility apps that I wanted to get to, which is disks, and then the document scanner, and then I also I was able to place it's a little app. I don't know what you call it. It's a shortcut version of your main app here. So this is the more elaborate one, and this is the simpler version. And the same thing is here. And for some reason, the word escapes me. It should say right on there. Well, it's just strictly an applications menu, where this is your official one. Okay. And then I'm playing with Microsoft Edge Developer Edition browser. Not suggesting that you want to, but it is an option to experiment with another browser. I will say I've been impressed with it's very nimble, it's fast, and I think it's going to give Google Chrome or Chromium possibly a run for its money. We shall see, but for now I'm tinkering with this as a third browser to play with. What else did I want to show? What I did too recently was I'm playing with, I installed the Nemo file manager as opposed to the Thunar file manager that is the default in Xfce See. And you may be happy with the Thunar file manager. What I don't like about Thunar is that you don't have the access to a double pane. And you might say, so who needs a double pane? Well, first, this is a double pane. So say, let me give you an example. If I plug in say you plug in a flash drive, and I'll do that right now. And so it loads the flash drive and say, okay, so I'll click on the flash drive. So I'm in the flash drive, and say I want to move some files from the flash drive into my one of these folders, say the downloads folder. You can easily see what you're doing by navigating, okay? And that's the reason for a double pane, simply, is that it gives you the ability to easily see where you're sending something, how you're manipulating a file, and where to move it or how to move it easily and visibly see where you're putting it. When you don't have a double pane, you literally have to bring up two separate file managers at the same to manipulate what you're doing between different folders or between a flash drive and a file on another computer. So, or your computer itself, I should say. So those are the reasons why I prefer a double pane. And if you were interested in playing with another file manager, you would install it through, say, your Synaptic, which is default package manager in Mint. When you install Mint, you'll have Synaptic Package Manager. So if you were to click on it, I'll put in my password, and you'd wait for it to load. Sometimes it can take up to a minute. You can see it's kind of an hourglass going here. For these purposes, I may not need to wait, so we'll just see what happens. So you could go to search, type in Nemo, hit enter, and then you're going to look for Nemo. Sometimes it'll come right to it. So Nemo is not installed by default because it's not the default file manager. So what I had to do was right click, or click on it, install, and I believe it came with a couple other things that it needed to install, and it'll do that automatically. So when you do install it, if you are intending to play with this other file manager, I highly suggest don't uninstall Thunar. Leave it. It can be left on the computer on its own. All you're going to do is change the default settings of Nemo, so that it's the preferred application in use. And to do that, you would just type into your main start menu, and we'll put in preferred or applications. So you come in here, left click. So it's preferred applications, and then you'll go under utilities, the second tab, and it'll say Thunar. So you'll have a drop down here. Here's Thunar. And so with Nemo, all I did was, I think I had to click other, and I typed Nemo in lowercase, don't capitalize N. Just put it in lowercase, and then I think it gives you the option just to save it, or if it doesn't, my suggestion would be to reboot possibly to make sure that it takes effect. And then once you've got that you're only partly done, you're changing the file manager, and then you'll need to go into the file manager itself and make sure that it is Nemo. And to make sure, you would go to the help section, go to about. You want to definitely see that you're in Nemo and not Thunar. And when you're here, then you need to also go in here, go to edit, go to preferences, and you're going to have to make some changes here so that you'll be able to use Nemo exclusively, or at least without any issue. So it'd be under behavior, I believe. Well, I have mine always start in dual pane view. I don't know if that's the default. Let's see. I changed this, but that's up to you. View executable text files when they're opened. I think normally you have to ask each time. So use some discretion with some of these. You may read up on it if you're curious. You can change some of your trash settings. At least I do. What else? There was something here. This came, I think in default it said open each folder in its own window. I had to uncheck this. And if you don't, you're going to get multiples of folders opening up. So you definitely need to uncheck that. So uncheck open each folder in its own window. Under display, do I change anything here? No. Columns, I don't change anything. Preview, no. Toolbar, nothing here off the top, but the more you play with this, the more you learn. Just make sure that you remember some of the changes, so that you can restore it if you don't like the change you made. Context menu, I added make a link. So I checked that. That was the only change I did here, so that you can make a link on your desktop. I think that's it. The changes I made. And a link is, these, you'll see a little arrow. That means that these folders reside elsewhere, and this is just a shortcut to those folders. So that's what a link's all about. I tried to do my best here. I did go to the dental office, so I'm not sure if I'm real coherent. You can put it in the comments if you want. And I'll try to make some show notes so that you can have something more thorough to review or look further on for yourself. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching, and until next time.